Welcome back to the NutriSafe podcast. Today we have a very, very special guest joining us from the University of South Carolina, Tyreek Hayes. Thank you so much for coming on. I am so excited for this next hour.
Oh, yeah, man.
So, funny story. We're both pretty good friends. We both came to orientation June of our freshman year, and we sat through this presentation, and I don't remember what it was on, but they were talking about something, and we were sitting there talking about football for about the full hour and a half, and it was great. We were talking about South Carolina football, the upcoming NFL season, how we thought Carolina football was going to do that year. Great hour and a half convo, and we said our piece, moved on, whatever. Come school year, we didn't realize it. We were in the same friend group for 6-7 months. Went through an entire semester, and then finally January. I don't know how we were talking. Our guys in our friend group were talking about the orientations we went to, and Ty and I were like, "Oh, it's the same date." And I was like, "Oh man, were we sitting there talking about football next to each other?" And so, funny thing.
I was like, "Yeah, we were." I was like, "Wait a minute, that's you." You're like, "Wait, no, that's you." It was like,
I mean, the fact that we spent, 8 football games together and 6 months of hanging out like probably 3-4 times a week, and did not realize it that that was us.
Right.
Pretty amazing, but
it is.
Goes to show how lasting those memories are.
Yeah, still to this day, just runs through the mind, man. Just don't know.
I mean, but college football, it starts tomorrow, and I think really the only notable game coming out is Florida State and Georgia Tech. And you look at Florida State, I don't think they got snubbed. I've talked about that previously on the podcast. I think that they didn't. After Jordan Travis went down, I think their team was cooked. He was a big reason why they beat Clemson and why they were able to go really undefeated. And so they're looking to start their redemption season. But the Florida State environment is extremely unique and one of the most hostile environments in football. I don't have it in my top 5, but you get that war chant and you get that crowd going, electric. So to start us off, and there's a lot of debate on this, and I know because you've traveled with the team and everything.
Yeah.
Where have you been, and where do you see on TV are the most hostile environments in college football?
So being that last year was my first year traveling, I went and we played Missouri. And it's not on my list, but I'm going to say they have their ways of getting into your head when you're on the sideline. But that's where I went last year, and it was pretty fun being there, seeing how the different type of traditions and things. But I'm going to say who I have on my list. I'm going to say us, for one. People don't really realize how crazy it is to play in Willie B on a Saturday night. I mean, it's probably one of the best experience ever. From freshman year being in the student section and then sophomore year being on the field, it's probably one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. Like, looking around, from the time you walk out on the field and look around, you just see everybody. Like, the first game, my heart dropped. I was like, what in the world? It's truly amazing. So I'm gonna put us at, one, of course, and I'm gonna put Tennessee, run out the T. I'm going to put him up there. I'm going to say Tennessee. Can't go wrong with Georgia. Georgia is just a very hostile environment. I've never been, but I watched it on TV, and I've heard from the players how it was, and I can only imagine how it probably really is. I'm going to go with LSU. I know how it is probably playing in there at night as well. I've seen and I've heard some of the things that they say, so I can only imagine how it is being in there. And then I'm gonna go with Bama. You can't run away from Bama, man. They're that Saban era. I'm pretty sure that stadium was probably rocking even in the daytime games. So I think that's why I'm gonna go with my list. I think that's a pretty solid list, though.
I think it is too. I think for all of the Big Ten fans out there, one
Yep.
thing you notice, there's not a single Big Ten team on that list.
It's not.
I think you look at the two best teams in the Big Ten in Michigan and Ohio State. And Michigan, I think their biggest knock is that as of late, they really weren't relevant until, 4 years ago?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then before that, it was like, yeah, you've got fans in the stadium, but it's just they weren't doing much. And then now, of course, now you're somewhat decent. This season, I don't think Michigan's going to do well at all. It's going to be a rough one. And then Ohio State, you've got it to where you've got it closed in on three sides, and then you have one side open. You need to close that thing up.
Mm-hmm.
I get it's called the horseshoe because it looks like a horseshoe, but I feel like it's kind of preventing a lot of that noise from bouncing around.
Right.
Mm-hmm. My list, I wanted to keep South Carolina off of my list. I know they're number one.
Right.
I truly know they're number one, but to give everyone else out there a fair chance, I've got Tennessee at number one on the list. I remember the things you were telling me about some of the things that the players were saying, or not the players were saying about the fans and just that whole environment, seeing it on TV, especially watching that Bama game from our freshman year in 2022. I think the environment there plays a major factor into the outcomes of a lot of those big games. And again, Bama's going to Tennessee coming up here, I think, late October. So we'll see how that one goes again. Second, I got LSU, the true Death Valley. Yeah. Clemson just seems to try and knock them off and everything. And they couldn't even get a good yellow in for an actual tiger. They had to get that ugly-ass orange. So then I got Georgia. And Georgia, I wouldn't say it's the fans kind of like being loud as much, given they are very loud. That damn barking is annoying. Yes. But it works.
Yes, I've heard
I've got a buddy that goes to Georgia, and I was like, so when would you not bark? And he was like, never.
Never.
They'll bark at anyone and everyone. And I mean,
I think it's the third down that they have when it's third down and that band starts playing that same chant. Dun, 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 dun. It's like an intimidation type thing. Like, bro, like it feels like you're not finna get the first down.
I mean, you go back to last year with Carolina playing them. Yeah. They had my hopes up so high in the first half. I mean, shout out to your man Xavier Legette, but that second half kickoff, after he got tackled inside the 5, there were a couple of missed blocks, but he got blown up. Actually, I think he made out to 20. There was a penalty for, I think, the legal block in the back. But after that, I was like, we are screwed. Like Georgia, they finally woke up. I will say, I don't know if you remember this. I did correctly call to the side that the Georgia kicker was going to miss it. I think you did twice. I think it was twice. I think he ended up missing a total of 3 times.
I think it was like in the first or second quarter you called it?
I think they were both in the first half. I mean, great. That when the vibes were still high, when we were still winning.
Yep.
When I felt like our season actually had a chance. But injuries took that one from us. I have a tie at 4th, and for the same reason. Both Clemson and Oregon. Not necessarily because of the fans, but because of how good they are at home. Take a wild guess. Since the 2017 season, I guess, including the 2017 season, how good Clemson has been at home.
I think they just lost at home this past season, right?
Actually, it was the season before, and it was to us. We ended there. It was like a 48-game home.
Yeah, it was us. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then they lost to Florida State at home. So they're 45-2 at home since 2017.
Yeah.
Oregon, who I also had as the tie, guess what their record is since 2017? 40-3.
Wow.
That's crazy. I think 2 of those losses came to Washington the past 2 years. But just looking at those numbers, I mean, that's well into the 90s on a win percentage. That is insane.
Mm-hmm.
To go 45. I mean, that's like Bama's regular season numbers over the past decade or so.
It is.
And so that's
It
like
is.
that's one of the situations when you're going in there, you're like, I already know I'm going to lose, and that's the intimidation factor you're talking about with Georgia. It's like you're
Mm-hmm.
going to lose before you even, or you're not going to get a third down before you go in there. And the last one I've got is the swamp in Florida. Um,
Yeah.
it's they as of late they haven't been the greatest, but even then they may have a 4-8 team, and that place is still bumping.
Still exactly.
And
Yep.
and I think that's what separates the SEC from any other conference in college football. Your
Mm-hmm.
team could be 4-8, and you still show it. I mean,
Yep. Still
last year
show up.
South Carolina 2-6, very grim, and then you had that Kentucky game. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, we sold it out, and
Yeah, I
that
think it was.
place
Yep.
was rocking.
It
And
was.
again, shout out to your man Xavier Leggett for that. I think he got that TD right in front of us, and
Yeah,
I think
it was what I watched the game a couple of days ago. So it was the third quarter, and we took the lead 17-14, and then the fourth quarter was just a defensive game. Nobody else scored the rest of the game, and we played the best defense we could have played all year.
I mean, when I say he got up there, it is. I'm so happy he got drafted in the first round.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I would have liked to have seen him go to like the Chiefs or someone where I know he'd win a Super Bowl. I mean,
yeah,
it'd be awesome. But
yeah,
I mean, to say he levitated is an understatement. That man flew. Like
yeah.
he had a pair of wings on his back. He was up there.
Yeah, man,
Um,
I wish people could have really saw like I said, I knew him before he got here, but I wish people really could have saw him back when he was in high school. I'm talking about this man used to dunk the basketball and he was in the air for like at least 10 seconds. Like he was just athleticism is crazy. His athleticism was out of the ordinary, you know what I'm saying?
mhm.
And when he got here, people didn't really see it at first until he got later on. He blossomed later on in his years here, and I was like, yeah, that's to say that everybody from Mullins know, but y'all just get to see it. So yeah,
I think that moment he went and blew up in popularity and kind of became on the national stage was that opening
A&M,
kickoff. I'm getting
A&M,
the goosebumps now. That opening kickoff of the A&M game, going back
yep,
101 yards, breaking the
A&M,
tackle on like the 38-yard line,
yep,
and again, yet again, right in front. He came in the end zone right in front of us. So I
yep.
mean, that was awesome.
He ran
I
out of
mean,
his shoe.
talk about a loud environment. That was, I think that still stands one of the loudest I've ever heard
Yep.
Williams-Brice Stadium. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that place erupted.
Yep.
And
And I think because like the fair was going on too, right across, that plays a huge part in what was going on for that game. And it was a night game, and I think we came in with a chip on our shoulders because we haven't beat A&M in a couple of years before that game. And I
prior to that
think we
game,
came in
A&M was 8-0 against us. And they
exactly.
had their dude cheerleaders that wear their big jean overalls stand on our state capitol being
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
making a fool of themselves.
Mm-hmm. That was a great game too.
That was a nice little taste of it. We need to. I think we need to get them back this year.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
we do play them. And last year I think was more of a fluke. Again, last year I think we had so much potential, but then when we lost as many guys as we did against Carolina in the
Mm-hmm.
first week, and then losing Juice in the second week didn't really bode well. But after everything that came to light, I don't really want to talk about him anymore. I
Yeah.
mean, I cannot wait for that Ole Miss game.
I think a lot of fans are ready for that game. That's one of the ones that a lot of fans are juiced up for, that game specifically. Yeah.
That 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 game and Clemson are the two
Oh yeah.
games. We go 2-8 or 2-10 this year. Those are the two games I want under our belt. Like
we going undefeated.
I'd call it an you know, if you guys go undefeated, I will like be the first ones to say. I mean, coming out of the ODU game, I may be like, hey, this team's got a chance because
Yeah.
this ODU game is going to be a tell-all for everything. But
Right.
kind of back to what you said about the being in the student section and being on the field, I got to
Mm-hmm.
jump the gun a little bit with that first question. But do you want to tell the people kind of what you do and how you've gotten to where you are, kind of as a working through the process of being a walk on and working with the team?
Yeah. So Uh, Coming out of high school, I was on South Carolina's radar from a coach that was there at the time, and great coach, still is a great coach to this day. And when I got there, uh, I got here in August, so everything was pretty much kicked off already. So I just took a seat back, and I continued to train, work out, and do what was best that I felt was to continue to try to put on weight to play a certain position and continue to get stronger, quicker, and things happen and things go certain ways, but I'm a firm believer that everything happens on God's timing. So at the time, it was discouraging. So I really missed being around ball. So I hit up a guy who is a great guy who works in the building. Matter of fact, I actually was talking to a couple guys from Auburn, Vanderbilt, and I believe it was East Carolina. And I told him my story because I had to take SPT 195 here at USC, and I had to reach out to other people who were, working in the facilities, businesses, stuff like that. So I reached out to them, and the guy from Auburn actually requested me to a guy that works in the facility, Shula Hayes. Shout out to Shula Hayes, man, a great guy who brought me on board, and he actually showed me the way and gave me an opportunity to be around the team and work and learn and grow and teach me skills to be able to work in a environment as such. And I miss being around ball so much, and that's what I did. And because of him, able to be a part of the team at USC, and it's a great honor, a great privilege. I don't take it for granted, not one bit. That is a great place to be. South Carolina football is a great place to be. So
I'm ecstatic. I don't know if people can see the flag right there, but I am.
yeah,
I bleed garnet, and I am very proud to do so. And I remember one of my favorite memories from freshman year, and especially how this ties into your football journey.
mm-hmm.
Um, I remember, and there was like no guarantee you were going to be a part of the team. There was no,
Right.
I don't want to say there was no light at the end of the tunnel, but
Mm-hmm.
if there was, it was very small.
Right.
And yet, still, middle of January, I was going to the gym at 6 a.m. to work out for boxing. This man was already running wind sprints up a hill in like 45-degree weather, wearing
Yeah.
shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
The
That's what I was doing.
dedication that you had and that you still have to the game is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, that just goes to show, again, why SEC football means so much more.
Exactly. And a lot of people, they don't really know, my story coming out of high school. I wasn't heavily recruited, but I was in a way. I had a couple D2 offers, but COVID played a huge part in my recruitment, a huge part. My junior year of high school, I only played 3 games. And in my senior year, we played limited games because of COVID. We were in and out every season. But God gave me an opportunity to catch an eye from a coach at South Carolina when I was coming to the camps. I came to camps all through my junior, senior year. And I got here, like I said, and, things happen. But when you have a dream and a goal, you can't let something or anything block it, because the moment you give up, you give somebody else an opportunity. And that's how I look at things. So that's why I still, have that mindset of, oh, I'm going to do this one day. That's just how I look at everything in life. And I feel like everybody should look at everything like that in life. So, yeah, man.
That is a great quote. I'm gonna have to write that down. That was a great quote. Um, but I mean, you talk about like the work ethic it took in high school, and kind of like when you were here, how you were missing ball. How did you get like started, and like what got you into football in the first place?
So football wasn't even my first love for a sport. I didn't. Football wasn't my first that I liked. The first sport that I actually got into was soccer, and everybody don't know that. But when I tell them that, they're like, "Dude, you're like 260 pounds. What are you running up down a soccer field for?" But I'm like, I wasn't this size when I was like 8 years old. But soccer was my first sport. I actually was pretty decent at it, but everybody in my family and around town was telling my mother, they're like, "Man, you got to get that guy on the field, man. He cannot be playing no soccer. Like, he needs to put his hand in the dirt for somebody. I don't care where he goes to. Mullins, South Carolina, Marion, South Carolina, Dillon, Florence. He got to play for somebody. So I ended up transitioning over to rec league football, and at the time I was playing O line, and I was okay. I was still learning the ropes. I was kind of timid, in a way. I was like, I really didn't know the difference between blocking and tackling. So I was out there when we did hitting drills. I was out there running up like this, and I didn't understand. I was little. I was young, but the older you get, you progress. And then I got to high school. I went to play middle school. Got to high school. My weight went from like 2 something to like 180. So I started playing receiver and tight end. And I played that a little bit while I was in high school. And after, I'm going to say, my freshman, sophomore year, I jumped back up in weight. And so I went back to my role where I liked the best, and I became a D lineman. So that's when I was really in my element, as you can probably say. So, yeah. But football, like I said, was my first love. I played soccer, baseball, tennis, and then football came along. So I've really, growing up, I played every sport you can really say. Growing
I was
up,
about to say, I never knew you. I mean, I've known you for almost 3 years now. I've never known that you played football, or
yeah,
not football, soccer.
that was my
The
first.
fake football.
Yeah,
Go ahead and piss off the Europeans. So, but I mean, you talk about playing for Mullins and Xavier Leggett,
right.
and you never got the chance to actually play with him, correct?
I did. I played with him my freshman year. He was my quarterback. My freshman year, his senior year, he was my quarterback.
So he was a quarterback.
He was. He was a quarterback. He played his 9th, 10th, 11th grade year. He played receiver. And I remember me and him and a couple coaches went to a coastal football game together. Mind you, this kid was not on anybody's radar, just a typical quiet kid. We got to the Coastal Carolina game in Conway, South Carolina, and some guys was like, "Hey man, you might want to look into playing quarterback or running back, man. We saw your film, like you should give it a try." And he was like, "Nah, I ain't gonna do that." Even my head coach was like, "Man, you need to try quarterback." This man came back senior year and got at quarterback and broke records. I'm like, every time he touched the ball, he was in the end zone. Just he'll ready, and he's gone every play. And it was crazy. Not only that, but he can also throw it too. He took us to the third round of the playoffs, and we lost to Timberland 7-6 of my freshman year. And when I tell you that was probably the most, he's probably gonna see this. He's gonna laugh at me, but that probably was the most emotional game ever in my life, because to see how hard he played, and that last play, it was like 4th and 13, and I can see it right now. It was like 4th and 13, and he ran out of bounds because nobody downfield was open. And I'm talking about the tears just, because we just knew that we were going to the state championship that year with that guy. We didn't lose a game until that one. That was the first game we lost the whole year, and nobody knew that we were going to be that great of a team that year. But he really put us on the map for the rest of the years. So, like I said, shout out to that guy, man. Xavier Leggett is truly a hero for the city of Mullins, Marion County in general, because he's given the vision to younger kids back home. Like, I go back home over the summer, and our football team back at home has expanded over 80 players. We went from like 40 players to 30 players. Now this year we have like over 80 players on our football team, and it's because of him. So shout out to that guy, man. He's really done some things that people really didn't think you could do. So
I was about to say, even after our freshman year, I guess it would have been his junior year. How
right,
many number 17 jerseys were getting bought and purchased and worn in Mullins?
man, I would go. So quick thing, Mullins, and like when I was on the video for a game called football, Mullins is a little community. It's very small, so everybody knows everything about you and what you do, and you better be careful what you do. So literally everybody was buying these jerseys. Even when I used to do football camps with him over the summer. I'm gonna say about 2 or 3 years ago, he had a camp in Mullins, and that's when he started getting this, merch and stuff. And people was just buying 17 jerseys left and right, left and right, left and right. I remember going to urgent care to get a physical one time, and a guy walked in with a 17 jersey. I'm like, dude, like we're in a doctor's. Why are you wearing a 17 jersey here? But that's the impact he's made, man. He's made a huge impact, all over, and everybody knows this story, losing both parents and then battling back with adversity and still pursuing his career, even though he lost both parents. That right there just gives you the drive to want to do more when you feel like you're not doing anything. You know what I'm saying? The stuff that he's been through to get where he is now. Like I said, he's a true champion, man.
I don't want to jinx anything. But how long until you think he's one of the top receivers in the league?
Prohibit injuries. God prohibits injuries. I feel like give him about 2 to 3 years, man. I'm gonna say he's a stud.
He's incredible, and I mean, I was so privileged to be able to watch him here in Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that wide receiver room in North Carolina or at the Panthers, that I don't really see anyone who's going to top him out.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I remember last year, I think Adam Thielen was there. I don't know if he's still there, but he's on his way out. But like, you get that Rice and Xavier connection going.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope they don't explode. I'm a Saints fan. That's going to be bad for me. But I mean, I hope he has the utmost success in the NFL.
Right.
I mean his story starting from Mullins, coming here, and then kind of being under the radar, even here for the 2 years, kind of not getting all the spotlight, and then finally blowing up junior and then senior year, basically being wide receiver one, as Juice Wells kind of just so.
Yeah.
So I know, and I mean, I think one of the big things, and you see this a lot, but what would you say, and this is going to be crucial to his transition and kind of getting to the top of the league, what's one of the biggest things you see in the difference between the NFL and then college football as it pertains like on the field?
Fan base. The fan base plays a huge part in the difference. Like, you can really see the passion and the joy that college football fans have. And I always told my mom, because me and her watched we watched the games all the time. Before I came here, before I started, being around the game at a collegiate level, you can see the passion in the players from the NFL. These guys are trying to get to the NFL, so they're all gas, no brakes. Now, I'm not saying the NFL doesn't, they don't go hard to, get, where they want to be and stuff like that as far as Super Bowl. But you can really see the passion on the players who play college football. Like, they're coming for your neck every down. They're trying to make their name known. And I think that's what really plays the difference between college football as well as NFL. But like I said, the fan base plays a huge part. Like here, Carolina football has an amazing fan base. Amazing fan base. And you can see it every time you step in Willie B on Saturdays. It's like a huge family. It's like a huge family. When you see somebody with that garnet black on, it's like, that's my uncle, even though that's not your uncle. It's a huge family. That's literally how it feels. So like I said, I think it's really the fan base what plays a huge part in the difference between college and NFL.
Do you think there's something to it where, especially for the people who aren't maybe as big football fans as you or I, to where, hey, they're like, hey, I go to university now, I'm going to cheer for the team because it's like tied to me. It's the school I go to. Of course, I want to see them do well. Do you think there's something to do with that? Whereas in the NFL, really the only connection you have to teams if you're from the city, if you live in the city.
I think it has something to do with that. I mean, but then again, like you said, you have some people, they come to the school and they're like, okay, I'm going to root for this school because I go here now. But then again, you got some Gamecock supers, what I call them, which is me. Been a Gamecock fan all my life. From back when we had Connor Shaw and Alshon Jeffrey. I was a little kid with a whole uniform on. If my mom was here, she would show you a picture of me. I used to run around the living room while the game was on in a whole Gamecock uniform from head to toe around the kitchen living room. And that's the truth. Like, if she was here, she would show you. So it plays a part. But like I said, there are some super fans who's been Carolina fans all their life, and I'm one of them. So
I was about to say and I was talking to someone earlier about this, but the way I became a South Carolina football fan was I don't remember what year it was. I was either in first or second grade.
yeah,
Navy came and played South Carolina in Williams-Brice, and my parents didn't take me. Both my parents went to the Naval Academy, so
yeah,
big Navy fan growing up. Lived in DC for a while, and so I got mad they didn't take me. So out of spite, I was like, "Screw this! I'm rooting for the Gamecocks."
yeah.
And that's when it started. I went to my first game in Williams-Brice. I believe I was in second or third grade. It was a game Marcus Lattimore blew out his knee against Tennessee.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
I saw that ticket framed on my wall back at home. But
yeah,
I mean, just sitting in the nosebleeds at that age, that was my first experience of SEC football. I didn't think concrete was supposed to move that way. I mean, when they say the stadium is swaying, that thing is swaying. And
it's true.
God for engineers, because holy crap. I mean, it's not just like low vibrate. You're like, I mean,
you're moving.
It's borderline earthquake. And
it's moving.
Fell in love with it, ended up coming here, and now, I mean, look at us.
Yeah. Yep.
So I see you got the new Carolina shirt on.
Yeah.
Kind of coming with that George Rogers era uniform they just announced, I think, last week. Cool. I think it's a great uniform. I like the helmet.
Great. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of uniforms, college football, I think, has produced some of the all-time great uniforms in sports. So what are some of your top uniforms coming in overall?
Okay, that's a great question. I'm going to say us. We have a good colorway of uniforms that I like. And I'm not just saying this because I go to school here, but I see it. There's nothing like an all black uniform. Our all black uniforms are unmatched. Our Stormtrooper uniforms, the all white, is insane. But like I said, you can't forget about Oregon because they have so many different colorways that they can do. Man, that's a good question. But I'm gonna say us in Oregon. You can't not say Oregon. You can't like just be like, oh, you can't say Oregon. Oregon has a great uniform combination of different things that they do every year. I think they did something different this year, with their uniform. So, like I said, but our all black unmatched. You can't beat our all black, and then our Stormtroopers that we were all white when we go to away games. It's just the toughest uni I ever seen in my life. Seeing like the white helmet, white. It's just tough.
I love all black uniforms in general. And when I tell you some of these uniforms, you're going to see a very consistent trend.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of our biggest games that I remember. I mean, I remember the Kentucky game. We wore all black. The black helmets, I think, are some of my favorite football helmets outside of the Army Navy helmets because those are just in their own category. But the black helmet, I mean, just the matte coloring on them. I knew you were going to pick Carolina. I didn't want to pick them, but I think who has the best uniforms, and this kind of ties in, I think they also have one of the best logos in college sports, is ECU.
Okay.
They're all black uniforms, like the pirate and stuff, and how it'll spell pirates on the side of their helmet. It's got the script there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen them before. It is so cool. I mean, they got that black, purple, white, and yellow as their colors.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not just their all black uniform that looks cool. Their white uniform looks really cool. Their purple uniform looks really so. All around, I think they take the kid. Now,
don't forget. Now we remember. I don't know if you remember this, but Carolina used to kind of script helmet too.
I hope they bring that back because that was something I think that kind of left with the Muschamp era.
Yeah.
And so I don't think we've seen a game with Beamer. I know we brought back the like retro helmets where we've got the block C with the red circle.
Yeah.
Those weren't my favorite. I still think they looked cool, a little cool. It's just I would have liked to see a Carolina script come back. Maybe like a red Carolina script on like a black helmet.
Yeah.
I don't know what strings you could pull, but You could pull that one
Uh,
off. That'd be
I
pretty
can't
cool.
pull too many, but I can just float it in the air and see what happens.
Hey, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
You don't take, yeah.
And then I already talked about ECU, South Carolina. Of course, they're all blacks, unmatched. The Ohio State, I don't think they've worn this one in a while. The Ohio State all black, where they had the red striping on the
hmm
sides. They had the
Yeah.
all black helmet with their red going down. That was real cool. I can't remember which game they wore that against, but I'm pretty sure. I think it was the Penn State game a couple years ago. It may have been the one where they blocked the field goal.
hmm
May not have been. Can't remember for sure. Don't take my word for it. Those uniforms, again, really cool. And then lastly, I'm a sucker for the Maryland state flag. I think the Maryland state flag is really cool. Maryland's
Yeah.
black uniform, when it
hmm
had the state flag, I don't want to say memorabilia, but like sections on it,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Just seeing, because it's such a unique state flag. Like
hmm
nowadays, I don't want to crap on the Virginia state flag. It's pretty cool, but it's kind of bland.
Yeah. I
South
got
Carolina's, again, it's cool that it has the palmetto, something that you see very frequently in South Carolina. But again, it's kind of bland.
you. Right.
Maryland's just fucking all over with the red, white, yellow, and black. Like it's so cool how
hmm
it's very unique. It's something you don't see really anywhere else.
Right. Yeah.
And especially to be able to incorporate that into their athletic uniforms there. Great job by the Maryland athletic department. I don't know why you took them out of your black alternates. Terrible idea, but good job
I
back
have,
then.
I have I just thought about when you said black. They they wore them last year when we played them, and I feel like it was a revenge type thing. And you probably know who I'm talking about before I say it. But they wore them last year. We went to them, and I remember walking around the facility, and the guys that I worked with, they were like, "Yo, have you seen the things the reveal for Tennessee this week?" And I'm like, "Nah," and they showed me, and I'm like, "Ooh,
They were clean.
Tennessee's black. They were clean. That's
I
clean."
think what those and then the uniforms they wore against Kentucky the year before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Those are both clean. And again,
Yeah.
that I'd say that's a good shade of orange when you can throw in the black. Now when you
Yeah.
got orange and purple mixed, just I mean, it can't get much worse. Like how are you? And especially because I go to school here. Of course, I'm a diehard Carolina fan. I wear Carolina stuff almost everywhere.
Yeah.
Very easy. We got
Fact.
black, red, white. Simple.
Mm-hmm.
How are you supposed to incorporate orange or purple into your like wardrobe? Like that
I know it's hard to do.
unnecessary and like unneeded challenge to start your day when you're trying to pick something out to wear. So I think you talked about that Tennessee game last year. A lot of fans saw that for them as a revenge game for Hendon Hooker, and I want to get your thoughts on this. I didn't think that Carolina football had anything to do with that being.
Yeah.
It wasn't on contact. Extremely unfortunate situation. He had a very promising career in the NFL. Kind of just slid. I think he's playing for the Lions now.
The Lions, yeah. Yeah.
So what were your thoughts on that situation, and then all of the allegations of these Tennessee fans who were butthurt saying, "Oh, they stole the signs."
Yeah. Well, to go back to the injury with Hendon Hooker, he I don't know if you remember, but me and you were standing right there when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
We were standing right there in the student section, and they were closer towards the student section. So his back was facing us. They were going down the field, and it was a rush. I don't know if it was. Well, I know it was Jordan Burch in the backfield.
I was going to say, I think Jordan Burch was the one who picked it up, and
it was Jordan Burch in the backfield as well as Gilbert Edmond, if I'm not mistaken. And they were both back there, no contact, no touch. I don't know if he was trying to roll out to the backside like this, but I remember just seeing it happen. And he picked it up. And, fans, when it's a fumble, you're not going to see the injury. You're more cheering about, we got the fumble, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, fans are going to say that, but there were no intentions to hurt anyone. In the game, there are no intentions to hurt anyone. That's a part of the game that's a risk that it is when you sign up to, do these type of games, play these type of games. So, and the allegations about this stuff, about the signs and stuff, that's just fans, just being fans. At the end of the day, like I said, the whole joy of college football and the passion that people have about their teams, people are going to say things. That's just a part of the game. But it's just all how you take it, man. That's how I look at it. When I first heard about it and I seen it, I was like, I just laughed about it. Like little things like that, I just laughed about it. I'm like, people. That's all I can say. So
I think they lost their right to say that it was rigged or that we stole signs when they gave up 63 points.
Man, to touch on that game, I remember College Game Day came here, if I'm not mistaken.
It wasn't College Game Day. It was like the SEC version. It was like SEC Network, something like that.
Yeah. I remember walking to the Horseshoe that day, and I remember Tim Tebow being out there, and it didn't feel real because you're there and you see Tim Tebow, and I'm like, bro, like I got a book about this guy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But they were there, and I'm pretty sure a lot of South Carolina fans was like, oh yeah, we're finna get hurt. Like we're finna get. The Tennessee was having a great year that year, I believe, and I know a lot of people were like, yeah, this is not going to be one of our games. But I don't know. I remember talking to a lady before the week of that game, and I told her, I said, we're going to win this game. I told her that. And another guy beside me, he was like, nah. Mind you, I didn't have no dealings with the football team at the time. I was just a student here at university. And we came out, and I'm talking about we punched them in the mouth from the start of the game to the end. And that probably was one of the best games here for, I believe, the University of South Carolina football. Like in the Beamer era, Coach Shane Beamer, shout out to him, was probably one of the best games in that era. Nobody expected us to put up 68 points and beat them 68-36. Nobody expected that. But when you got a guy like him building a program like this, you never know. So
I mean that's the thing is, I think each year Beamer's been the head coach, you've seen kind of a different identity with the team,
mm-hmm.
and each year it's been a completely different team, and that's kind of how college football is evolving. And so, I mean, you look at it was special teams 2 years ago. Last year, towards the end of the season, it became defense. At the start of the year, the defense was a little shaky. They really locked it down in the second
half.
half.
They did.
I mean, you look at what and the Clemson game may be a sore subject for a lot of people. That Clemson game, I think, you take away that first, I don't know what you want to call it, scoop and swoop. It was just a weird play to start.
Weird play. Really weird play.
You take that away, that South Carolina defense had Clemson locked up. They put a couple decent drives together, couldn't do anything once they got in our half of the field.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it was that the defensive line, I think, played a crucial role in that game. And I am so excited to see them this year because everyone, and I mean everyone, is counting this defense out and this whole team out. And I'm like, you're returning almost every single defensive line member, I guess is what the word you'd use for that.
Yeah.
And then Lenore Sellers, from what we saw last year, and given it was Furman and a lot of these garbage time games, dude's got a cannon on him. He
does.
He looks like a more accurate Joe Milton.
Yeah.
Because I remember Joe Milton could sling the ball down the field. The second guy's going to throw a check down. I mean, that thing's going down the field.
Yeah.
And so you look at what he's been able to do. He's able to get out of the pocket. He's able to use his legs. He's able to throw it downfield. He's able to kind of dump it off if need be. But kind of where do you see this season going for South Carolina football? Given we have a hard schedule.
The SEC is hard. It's very hard. Every year, seems like it gets harder and harder. You add an Alabama, well, not Alabama. You add Oklahoma and Texas over here with us. It seems like it's hard, but I feel like we're going to shock a lot of people this year. Lenore Sellers has been named the QB1 this week, and I really feel like Gamecock football is in good hands behind him. A lot of people put their trust in him, and they should, because he's very, very mature. His game is mature. Like from the time that I met him last year and I see him now, his whole mindset has developed into a new unit. Like he's a unit. And I really feel like that he's going to do some special things. And to touch back on our defense, man, our defense is just outrageous, man. It's based off last year, how you see how we improved. I really feel good about this year. I really feel good about it. But I really feel like South Carolina football is on the come up. It really is. Like I said, and it starts with the coach. It starts with Beamer. He's been doing some things, great coach. He has really done things for this program and turned it around for the good. And Gamecock football loves him. We love him.
I know there are a lot of people in the media out there. I am certainly not one of them. It was like, oh, this is like a crucial year for Beamer. He's on the hot seat. And I know I don't want to shout him out. I think you know who I'm talking about. Not a very well-liked person in Columbia. Kind of switched his whole social media personality around. But I think you look at some of these other coaches. Josh Heupel at Tennessee, I think, is the best example of this. Kirby Smart a little bit. They both, the first 2 years, maybe into the third year a little bit, they still had rocky season. It takes time to be able to turn a whole team around. And so I think you look at South Carolina, that 8-4 season, no one really thought. I think I even was like, hey, I think we're going 6-6 here at the end. I mean, we have Tennessee and Clemson to finish. It's not looking pretty. So 8-4, great get. Last year, kind of got screwed over by injuries. I don't think there was much Beamer can do. I mean, he made the best he could. The fact that we went from 2-6 and had a chance to be bowl eligible, and it came down to the wire against Clemson. I mean, that's incredible. And so I think you look at this season now. I think this season is, for Gamecock football, I think it's going to be similar to what Missouri did last year. Kind of just came out of nowhere and blew up on the scene.
Blew up, yeah.
And I think you look at some of these games, I think you're giving a lot more credit to some of these other teams, or the media. I'm not saying you, but the media is. I mean, you look at LSU, I'm not confident in Garrett Nussmeier at all. And I know he was – I'm seeing some of these quarterback rankings in the SEC. I have no idea why he's ranked so high. And now I know that I'm saying this, he's going to come and drop like 450 yards on us. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully these guys on the D-line can help prove me right. But
yeah,
I mean, there's no reason for, I think, LSU to be ranked as high as they are. I don't think they're going to have all that great of a season. I don't know really. They're one of the teams I think is in a cloud where it could either be a 9-3, 8-4 season, or I think it could be a 6-6 season for them. I think it's going to be one of those where, similar for us last year, the tone of their season is going to be set in the first couple of games. It's similar to us last year. We had that close loss to Carolina. Again, the fact that was even close after Rattler got sacked, 11 times? I mean, that just goes to show you how good this team was able to be in other areas to kind of make up for an injured and battered offensive line. But kind of back to the defense, I think Debo Williams, is going to be a crucial part for this team. I know I've talked to you a little bit about this. Do you think there's a chance that Debo turns into like prime time Ray Lewis and just goes and wreaks havoc on the entire nation?
Debo is a great guy. I remember when I first met him, he had a different mindset. He has like a killer instinct. Like, he got the mindset of kill a fly with a sledgehammer. That's who he is. Like, that's what the type of person he is. Like, he's in practice. He's screaming. Energy levels is always high. I really feel like he has a verge of breaking out, man, and just showing everybody who he really is. And we saw peaks of that last year. North Carolina game. You saw what he did against North Carolina. Every other play, he's in the backfield. He's just explosive. And I really feel like we're on the verge of seeing greatness within him. Because he's really – I look at him as the leader of this defense, and he is a great leader. So I really feel like Debo is on the verge of doing some big things here, man. I really do.
And I think one of the big things, one of the reasons why he may fly under most people's radars, at least from the outside perspective, and again, you're in the facility there, you might have a different perspective of him. He seems like a very humble guy. Like, he's able to flip that switch when he's on the field, but
Oh
when he's
yeah.
off, I feel like he's very quiet. He's very kind of, I don't want to say like kind of shuttered up, but I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
don't hear him going out and making these crazy statements online. You don't hear him going and trash talking fans or stuff like that. But
Yeah.
like when he's on the field, I mean, it's like he's locked in. It's all gas. I mean, he is just like he's very present there.
You're absolutely right. You hit it right on the head. That's him. That's him. Yep.
So, in fact, most people don't know this. Freshman year, the first game we played against Georgia Southern. It was the big group of us right after the game. South
Yeah.
Carolina football players come down the student section and
Mm-hmm.
like high five everyone. He took his glove off, kind of just tossed it up in the air. There's a photo. It landed on Matt Davis, who came on the podcast recently. It landed on his back, and I was able to get it. And so I still have that with me. It's upstairs. It's on my dresser.
Yeah.
It's I took a cool way to display it. I took a like lint roller thing and stuck it in like the middle finger, so it's displaying the hand like that.
In the hand, yeah.
So it's sitting up there on coolest thing I have in my apartment.
Yeah.
And so off chance he sees this, thank you so much for that.
Oh yeah.
Made
For
my
sure.
year. But and I know this next question, I know we talked a little bit beforehand. I know you got a crazy take for this. So this year's the first year we're seeing this 12-team college football playoff format. I know there's talks it's going to possibly expand to more here in the next couple of years. Who do you have as the final four, like the last 4 teams standing, and who do you have as the separate question, but who do you have winning the 4 major conferences to secure those top 4 seeds?
Well, South Carolina, we had to win it. I don't care what people say. I don't care what the perception of the team may be. Gamecock football for life. So I'm always going to put my team first. South Carolina football for sure. You cannot count out Georgia. You just can't, because they've been killing the game for the past 2-3 years now.
I think it's close to like 5.
Yeah, you can't kick him out. You just cannot talk about this conversation and not say Georgia. I know it's a new coach here. Saban is gone, but then again, Bama is Bama. So I'm going to put Bama in this conversation too. And I really didn't watch the game last year, but I don't know if they lost players, gained players. I don't know. But I remember seeing the play when Bama played Michigan in that last play when Milroe tried to go, and that defense was just shut down. I'm going to put Michigan in it as well. So that's my top 4 teams. Who knows which way to go? It may be totally different within the whole thing when that time comes. Like I said, Gamecock football, y'all always going to come first. Trust me. I got faith in y'all because I see y'all every day, so I know how y'all perform. But yeah, that's my teams that I'm going to go with right there.
So who do you think is going to win so of course Pac-12 is kind of down to Pac-2 for the meantime. Who do you think is going to win the SEC? So I mean, there's a lot of decent teams coming out of it this year. It's scary.
It is. You just, like I said, man, you can't sleep on Georgia. You just can't sleep on Georgia, man. Kirby Smart has built something special over there, man, and they have a great group of guys over there. Georgia is a really good team. But like I said, South Carolina football. I'm gonna just keep saying it. I'm not gonna stop saying
it. Speaking of Georgia, their week 1 matchup against Clemson. The line is currently 13.5. Do you think Georgia goes out there and just decimates Clemson, or do you think Clemson has any remote shot at making it close?
And I'm not saying this because I'm a Carolina fan, but I'm gonna be realistic. There's no chance, man. Georgia is just different, man. They're different. They play a different type of ball, man. But that's when the conversation comes in about SEC and ACC. The SEC is a different ball game, man. I don't think people realize that, but the SEC is different. Like when you play in the SEC, it's different. So I just really feel like Georgia's gonna come in and just lay the hammer down, man. I really feel that. I really feel that way.
I am sure hoping for that. And then, do you think, because we were talking about kind of Texas and Oklahoma earlier on, the
Mhm.
UD SEC, coming from the Big 12, again, not really the strongest conference. In
Mhm.
fact, Texas was the team I would have left out of the CFP last year. I think Georgia should have gotten in. That was a loss in a conference championship. But again, there's any number of ways you could have put those four teams in, and someone's getting screwed over.
Yeah,
So do you
always.
think
Yeah.
Texas and Oklahoma are in for a kind of rougher, more bumpy season they're used to? I think Oklahoma especially, but Texas, I mean, they've got some high hopes for their first season in the SEC.
Yeah. I really feel like Oklahoma is gonna be a little different for them. Um, Texas, now on the other hand, Texas is different. They have a good squad, a good team, very seasoned, very disciplined team. But Oklahoma, it may be a little different in this year. You know, coming over to the SEC, may have some bumps and bruises in the road, but I think that's what it'll be for them. But as far as Texas, I think Texas will come in and just be as dominant as they were in the other conference. So we'll see. We have no choice but to see, man. You know, like I said, the SEC is different. So
I will say I think Texas does have one of the easier schedules in the SEC, so I think their transition is going to be a little bit nicer than most.
yeah,
Oklahoma, on the other hand, I think they're going to get smacked right in the mouth.
yeah,
Given it's going to be hard because you're now playing teams that are pretty much the equivalent of the best teams in what would be the Big 12. Like if you put
right.
South Carolina in the Big 12, I mean, it would be top three, top two every year. You
Exactly.
you put Kentucky in the Big 12. It's the same situation. It's
Hmm.
you just look at these teams. A lot of the reasons these teams get 4, 5, 6, 7 losses is because you're playing Georgia, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Bama. I mean, the depth in the SEC as a conference is
Hmm.
unmatched. Now I know
Exactly.
previous short videos and stuff that we've posted, there's been a lot of arguments like, oh, hey, the Big Ten just won the national championship, like they're the best conference right now. No.
Yeah.
Penn State. When was the last time Penn State won a meaningful game against a decent team? Haven't beaten Michigan in forever. Haven't beaten Ohio State in forever. I mean,
It's
Rutgers,
crazy.
Purdue, and Indiana aren't good. Michigan State hasn't been good since what first year of CFP, so 2017.
Yeah. It's been a minute.
And so,
It's
I
been a
mean,
minute.
when you talk about dominance, the SEC has won I think 16 of the national championships since the turn of the century.
Hmm.
And so it's just it goes to show how next level not only the recruiting but the facilities, the play, and the culture in the
Yeah.
SEC is.
Yeah. That's right. That's facts. It's different, man. It's different over here. It's different.
I mean, I couldn't be more excited to see what you guys are cooking up for this season.
Man, I'm really excited. Like I said, I can talk about Coach Beamer all day, man. He's really, like I said, he's really done something great here. Um, he prides the culture here at Carolina on love. He's built that foundation from day one when he came on love, and you can see it like from
Mm-hmm.
walking around the facility. Everybody has each other's backs. Like from the time you walk in to the time you leave, everybody knows everybody. It's always, how are you doing? Good to see you. And you can see it with the teammates on the field, like the guys on the field. It's just really a joy to be in the building. And it's because of him. It's because of Coach Beamer. But like I said, what he does there transitions to the field on Saturdays. And then when we perform on Saturdays, you can look around and you can see it throughout the stadium that everybody, like I said, Gamecock football is a huge family. I think they played a video our freshman year. Towards the end when they really do fourth quarter, and they played shout out to the media team. They're the best media team ever. They played a video, Don't Stop Believing. I don't know if you remember that, but it was probably one of the most heartfelt, touching videos. I'm like, Yeah, I'm looking around like, yeah, I came to the right school. Yeah, that's all. Like, this is what it's all about right here, man.
I believe that was during the Tennessee game too, and
That's what it was.
kind of made
Yep.
it a little bit more special because I remember we were sitting there, we were like, because the entire game we were up. I was like, okay, when are we going to collapse?
Yeah.
When is this bump going to hit us, and when are we going to kind of? And I got scared coming right out of the second half. Tennessee made it a little close, and then Rattler and Jaheim Bell and Austin Stogner and
Yeah.
Marshawn Lloyd, they just kept destroying that
Well,
defense.
you know it's crazy. You want to know what's crazy? Fun fact: Marshawn didn't play that game,
Marshawn didn't
which
play
made
that
it
game.
no, he didn't, which made it 10 times greater. He didn't play that game. He was injured. He was on the sideline that game. He did not play that game. We had I don't know if you remember, but we call him CBS, Christian Bill Smith.
I do
He
remember
played
Christian.
he
I
played
also
running
remember.
back that game. Yep. He played running back a little bit that game, and I can't remember who else was in the
I think it was
backfield.
Juju McDowell also chipped in a little bit in the
Oh,
backfield there.
DK Joyner. He played a phenomenal game that game. And it's like we all came together that game and really put on a show. And I can see everybody just storming the field. Like I remember you brought your friend from Charleston.
Yeah,
If I'm not mistaken.
Harrison was a victim of the bushes. We'll say he
Yes,
sprained his finger trying to
yes,
get over. That was
yes.
quite funny.
Yeah. So yeah, man, that was great.
Real quickly to wrap it up. Really, I think given tomorrow are the first football games, really the only meaningful game on is Florida State and Georgia Tech. We're talking about that. I think it's being played over in Ireland too. Yeah, it is. I'm looking at it right now. Florida State's currently favored by 10.5 points. Do you think Florida State wins by 20 plus and kind of sets the tone, being like, hey, we were supposed to be in the college football playoff, and kind of start their season off on the right foot to get that revenge tour going?
Yeah, I mean, Florida State, they're a great team. Like I said, you can't count them out. I'm really excited about the season they had this past year. But we'll see. I don't know. That's a good question. I really can't say much about that. That's a great question. We'll see. We'll really see. So
I think one of the big things that helps Florida State out is their environment. And they're playing in Ireland. I don't know many Florida man stories coming from Ireland. So
yeah, man.
Well, Ty, thank you so much for coming on. Absolute blast. It's great to hear kind of insight into South Carolina football a little bit, insight into some of your backstory.
Yeah.
Coming from Mullins, kind of. And I mean, I don't even think I could point out Mullins on a map. I know it's in that general area over where Dillon is and Florence and all that. But hey, Xavier Legette put it on the map, and I think it's going to be there for a while. So
for a while, yeah.
Again, thank you so much. Absolutely special. I look forward to seeing you on not on the field, but on the sidelines this season.
So, yeah, man. No doubt.
Thank you.
All right, man.